Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Show Up Central Oregon, and always on Tuesdays and Fridays. But, oops, I just spelled something. I'll just have to deal with that later. That's what live TV is all about. Tuesdays and Fridays, we are, Cheri Helt joins us, but we decided to make it today. So, hello, Cheri. How are you?
Hey, Matt, I am a professional at helping people clean up spills, but I can't really reach into your computer to help you out.
I did a number on that one. Fortunately, it's on the floor and not on my computer or anything else. So, we're not going to get into some news that we just got in the last 24 hours because you're still, or the last like 6 hours, but you're still trying to figure out what's going on with Deschutes County. We're hearing it's under review, but can you give us the top level, hey, what does under review mean?
So I think what you're referring to, Matt, is the Phase 2 guidelines. The governor released the guidelines yesterday on what Phase 2 would look like. And so instead of going into all of the regulations that have changed, I will tell you to look towards my Facebook page and get the specific guidelines that you are looking for. There's a few things around restaurants that changed during Phase 2. We'll be able to open till midnight versus just 10 o'clock. And then there's plexiglass that's allowed to be put between booths. And there's some specific dimensions. But today was the day we applied as a county on Friday to be able to open up for Phase 2. And now the governor took applications on Monday, so ours was in nice and early, which was great. And now we are in, there are counties that have been approved for Phase 2. We are now awaiting approval and under consideration. So that is where we are standing at the moment. I am going to be looking down at my text to see if I get any information throughout the rest of the time that we're on this conversation. Right. I can keep everyone updated as soon as possible. Right. Because I know we're all eagerly awaiting the arrival of Phase 2. And I know this means a lot to a lot of our folks who have been struggling through this crisis with the economy. We do know that this is a health crisis. First and foremost, this is a pandemic crisis. But secondly, our economy is really impacted. And now that we're in the 11th week, I believe. Am I right on that? Or are we in 12 weeks?
I have no, I've stopped counting, so I have no idea, Cheri.
I believe we're in week 11. And if you haven't gotten unemployment benefits for 11 weeks and you've had no income, there are people that are really, really truly struggling and hurting. And some of these regulations will help open up their jobs again and bring them back to work. And we desperately need to make sure people can pay their bills and feed their families. So again, as I always say, if you are one of the people who are having trouble with unemployment, please reach out to my office. And I am in daily contact with the unemployment department, and I would be glad to help you in any way possible that I can.
Yeah, and there was a big change, obviously, this week at the unemployment department. I don't know how much you would like to speak on that, but I will give you an opportunity to weigh in on that.
I think it's really important. This crisis, I think we've all had to think way outside of the box, right? There's not anybody that is doing business the way they did before this started. I'm getting a call, but let's see if they text. I don't know who that was.
Okay. And if you need to take it, I can wing it. I can improvise. I can let you. I'll take you off air, and I'll in fact, I'll mute you, and then you can wave your hands. You can wave your hands and say, "Okay, come back to me. Come back to me."
So I think that through this crisis, we've all had to think outside of the box, and the unemployment department has really had a Herculean task through this. But we really need leadership that is working outside of the box and tackling some of these problems in a different way, because this is a really, really difficult situation, and it requires all hands on deck approach. And so I'm really pleased with David's leadership this week and some of the changes that he's made to try and make sure these claims get filled as soon as possible. We just need an agency that doesn't provide excuses but provides benefits. And he is doing a great job. So I'm really glad to be working with him. And I know everyone at the unemployment department is working very hard. And I want to thank them for their work publicly, because I think it's really important that we realize they've gone above and beyond, and they're not responsible for a lot of the choices that have been made. They're just responsible for the hard work they're putting in.
Right.
So I want to and just know that this is a continuing crisis, and we've got to make sure that we get that relief to people that need it. And we were just talking about getting your hair cut. So anyone out there that's gotten their hair cut in the last couple of weeks or a week and a half since they've been able to, that's been incredible support for our hairdressers and barbers, because they have not qualified for traditional unemployment, and the PUA program has not paid out very many people to date. And so that's been one of the big problems. But having them back to work while they wait for their back payments is going to help them out tremendously. So I'm glad that we're able to find the PP&E regulations to make sure that they can work and while they're waiting for those past benefits.
And just for those that I believe David he's not new to the unemployment department. Is that correct? He's seen a little bit of change over his years.
Oh, he is not new. He was the second in command, and he's now the interim director. So this is his time to get all those things in place that he's wanted to, and really meet the needs of our unemployed people. So I'm really, really glad to work with him and excited for his leadership.
So moving on to something that is sort of unemployment, but it's more employment related. I know that this is an issue that you have been very passionate about with childcare. And I know I have a letter that was sent by not only you, but Tim Knope also, and a few other people. So tell me a little bit about what you guys are pushing for right now.
Representative Zika and Senator Knope both signed on. I believe there's about 20 legislators from the Senate and the House, both bipartisan and bicameral, that have signed on to this letter. This is really about saving our daycares. Earlier last week, I was in my housing no, it's not housing anymore. I'm sorry, Human Services Committee. It was Human Services and Housing, but now it's just Human Services. And I was in that committee, and they talked about 60% of our daycares not coming back. And that is really just not something that we can accept. I am going to commit everything I can to saving those daycares and making sure that every one of them is able to open up every slot that they had before. Because before we got into this pandemic, we were in a daycare desert. We have 8 children for every slot that's available in daycare. And so it is really, really of the utmost importance to make sure that we preserve those businesses and those spots for daycare, because if we're going to start our economy again, we know that the center of the wheel of our economic forces is our daycare centers, and they're really the hub of the wheel, and we've got to do everything to save them. So I've had some Zoom meetings and conversations with our daycare providers to try and work on what they need, but what they really need is to have rent and utilities subsidized through this crisis, so that as they're in these emergency childcare numbers, that they're not able to make their margins to pay those. And so this letter advocates for rent and utility payments to be allocated through the CARES Act, as well as that $30 million that I keep telling you about that I just want to get spent on our daycares. And so this is a very strong letter. Karin Power was the one that wrote the letter and worked with me on accommodating my wish to add more money into it. So we bumped it up to $44 million from the CARES Act on top of the $30 million from the block grant that was allocated for childcare. And getting that out will be really, really helpful to our daycares and be able to help save a lot of what they're doing. I'm also working on trying to get more meals provided for kids that are in childcare through the summer, because we know how much childhood hunger is a problem at this moment. So I'm working on that as well.
So, Cheri, that money that you're talking about for the childcare, that is money that has been sent from the federal government to our state government. Is that correct? So,
all 74 million that I'm advocating for to be spent, as well as my other colleagues, is from the federal government. It's through the CARES Act and then also through the block grant.
Okay, so it's not like we have to raise this money from anywhere. It's basically we have it. We just need to get it out to the people that need it at this point in time.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the times when you look at allocating the funds. If you can allocate those funds immediately, a lot of times $1 goes further than $10 would in the future, right? So getting those funds out to stabilize those businesses immediately is really of the utmost importance.
Good. So, this is something that what are we looking for action wise? Can it be done quickly? What are you hoping to accomplish right now at this point in time, Cheri?
I'm hoping that we allocate it as soon as possible, okay, and that we should know in the next couple of weeks if it's successful. But I have a feeling with this strong of support, I think it's a really, really strong letter. And one of the things that I really love about this job is just being able to work with all of my colleagues and come up with solutions. And I think this is a pretty powerful letter to have this many people from across the states, bicameral and bipartisan.
Right. Yeah. So what else is going on? I know these are sort of the high level things, but what else is going on, Cheri, that you've been working on that you can let us know that's coming down for the citizens and what we need to be looking at as we're starting to reopen?
Well, phase 2, we need to look towards, what that's going to mean. And I'm watching that. And I don't have any updates on my phone.
So just to let everybody know that is joining us late, I don't mean to interrupt, Cheri, but we started this out with we're not sure. And we are waiting from the governors, and literally we have been waiting just while we've been on the call to figure out exactly what is going on. So this is sort of a real-time thing that's going on. So, So obviously phase 2 will be one of those things that does change things for a lot of people. But besides phase 2, anything else, Cheri, that you can let us know?
Well, I think one of the things that's really been heavy on my heart is, how do we work towards racial equity and inclusion, and making sure that everyone that's in our society is feeling included and safe. And that's been really on my mind for the last few days. And I've been working through that, and I'm working through writing my thoughts down and getting those out. But how do we make change? We need action. And I really appreciated yesterday at the city council meeting, Chief Porter's asked to fulfill his long-term plan and goal of getting body cams on all of our officers. Mm-hmm. So that is something that I'm supporting. But I think, it's all well and good to talk about our thoughts, and we should, and I will, and I have. But I also think we have to make sure there's actionable items that we can put into place to show people of Black and brown skin that we love them and respect them, right, and make sure that they have the same justice system and fairness that we all experience.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. And that is something that's I've sort of stayed out of it. It's been heavy on my heart, and I've been trying to figure out what it's like. People that have a platform need to say something, but I'm kind of like, I don't have a good answer right now. And so I appreciate you saying that very much. So yeah, thank you. Cheri, hey, you're looking, I see that you're looking, well, I don't know. Obviously we don't know what phase 2 looks like for us. So until we get there,
no, we're not there yet.
So yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
I'm trying not to move my head to give you panic. But I do want to thank all of the protesters that have been in Bend and really gave a heartfelt, peaceful demonstration 2 separate days in our city, and I think that matters, and it matters that you use your voice and you use your power for good. And I've been very, very proud of our city through this, and our reach for equity and justice. So
Right.
I just want to, reiterate that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Cheri. I'm gonna let you go. I mean, obviously we've talked to this, and we're like I think we're sort of like hoping that we hear information, but yeah, I gotcha. So I'm glad we did it today, because tomorrow I'm gonna help Crook County with their graduation ceremony, which is always fun. But thank you for
graduation ceremony. So Crook County is approved, and
oh yeah.
They're approved for Saturday. So I don't think that will help tomorrow.
No, it will not. So they had already made arrangements to handle it in a very social distanced manner. We already recorded the ceremony, and they have a parade with cars that basically have family members only, and so it's going to be fun. Yeah, so it's going to be very fun. Cheri, hey, thank you for joining me today, and have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and if there's anything we can do, let me know. So
I'll let you know when I hear anything about phase 2. I think that's what I'll put it out on Facebook too as soon as I hear something.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cheri. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Bye. That was Cheri Helt. Obviously, we are not sure what's going on with phase 2. We want to know answers. We don't have answers. Under review doesn't give us necessarily any sort of information, but that also doesn't mean that they won't make a decision tomorrow. We don't know if that means a week. We don't know. We just don't know. So we're not getting any information from the governor's office, which is unfortunate, but I know that Cheri's going to be working on trying to figure out what that means for us as a county. I mentioned it earlier. I am super excited that tomorrow I'm going to be working Crook County graduation, and just providing a community that, if you've never been to Prineville, go out there sometime. It's a fun community. It's just a great community. And it's just great to be involved with them as well. We're going to live stream the parade at 3:00. That'll probably take till 5:30, and their graduation ceremony will be 6:30 on Facebook and YouTube as well. So, hey, everyone, I appreciate you joining me today. Before I leave, I'd mentioned that sorry, I've been thinking a lot about this. I don't have a good answer for what's going on in this country right now. I don't believe. I think that equity and those sort of things are incredibly important. We built this nation on that. We founded it on that. However, unfortunately, there was a lot of history that did not contribute to that. We need to have those conversations. I'm encouraged by people that have said, I'm listening. And honestly, if there's somebody out there that would love to have a conversation, I'm game to listen. You can contact me through this, contact me through Facebook, post a comment. I mean, whatever you want to do. I'm game to listen. It's important that we are listening to each other. And I think that goes for all of these incredibly important social issues right now. This, very, very important, Black Lives Matter discussion needs to be happening. And I just encourage us all to be listening and having it. So I don't know that I really had a statement on that, but just know that I would love to have a conversation, whether that's this weekend, whatever that looks like, I'll do it. So, hey, everyone, it's part of it. But, remember, we all need to show up for Central Oregon.